Welcome. Today we're going to go over another feature in the 7.0 update for Deckplanet. And today we're going to go over our deck comparison feature. You can get to this feature by either selecting it on the sidebar, the navigation bar, or if you're in a deck that you already want to compare against another deck, you can go into that deck and in the deck header section, you see this new button called Compare. You can go ahead and click that button and it'll bring you over into our deck comparison item with the deck that you've selected already loaded in. In order to do this, you need the deck IDs of the decks that you want to compare. If you're trying to compare a private deck to a public deck, you can do that by having the IDs. Same thing if you were to have a private deck versus a private deck, you could look them up via IDs. Unfortunately, we do not allow you to search up private decks in this Find Decks section, even if the deck has already been previously shared with you. If it's been shared with you, you already have access to that deck ID. So you should just paste that deck ID in here. But you can also look inside this deck database by typing in the name of the deck. Unfortunately, we don't have any other sort of ways to search decks in this Find Deck section. That will be upcoming in future releases. But you can just look at decks by deck name here. So for instance, this is a Gogeta deck, and I want to look at another Gogeta deck. So I will try to do an unbanned search because this deck has been banned, and I've seen people say that they want the deck to be unbanned, such as this deck named Please Unban This by Abyss Dragon 6064. So I'll go ahead and add that, and then when I'm happy with my deck selections up here, I'll go ahead and click Compare. You'll see a couple different sections in the deck comparison. First, at the top, you'll see that we're comparing DBS Masters, and we double check to say we are selected the game of DBS Masters. In this top section, we can see quick differences based off the decks. How much of the deck is exactly the same, how many cards they have in common, how many cards are distinct, and how many cards are completely different. And we have a nice progress bar here. This deck legend also exists to indicate the colors for the decks that will be showcased all the way down here, where you're looking at the differences. In this Insights section, we can find a little bit more of a breakdown. However, it does use different deck legends. So you'll have to check that section as well. In the Common section, which is shared basically amongst all games, you'll see a breakdown of card types, how many of each card type each deck has, and an energy cost curve based off the quantity of those cards in the deck. So we can see that the Please Unban This deck is containing 27 4-cost cards. Meanwhile, the UK London regional deck is only containing 19. Other things that you can see is a color and affiliation breakdown. For some games like Fusion World or One Piece, this doesn't really matter since those games rely so heavily on being locked to a single color or two colors. But in games like Masters or other games where color and affiliation does not matter, you can see that breakdown a little bit further, such as one containing a whole bunch of red cards and the other and 5 black cards, and then the other containing 68 reds and a red-black card. A combo curve is something that we also have as well. So in Masters, you have what we consider the combo curve, how many cards are 0 combo, 5 combo, and 10k combo, and then the cost curve. How many cards are you running that are 0 combo cost or 1 combo cost? Or if you're running yellow, you may have a higher combo cost. That's usually what you'll see in this Insight section. Down below is the differences section. So you'll see what is unique to one deck versus another deck, and then going over all the different cards that differ between one deck to the next. We showcase off the card name and the card number and a little icon of what the card looks like. And then this deck legend here indicates the difference badge right here, which indicates +3, is comparing the first deck to the second deck. So we see that the second deck has 4 versus the first deck only has 1. So it has 3 additional copies of SS4 Vegeta Searching for Rivals. Same thing if we were to go look at SSB Kaioken Son Goku Concentrated Destruction. The first deck has 3 copies, the second deck has 0. Therefore, you see a -3. It's always taking that first deck and comparing it to the second deck and shows you that indentation. If we go further down, we can see all the cards that are common. And in this common section, we'll see cards that we saw above. But we see, are they equivalent? Is there a difference in the positive or a difference in the negative? And then you can see what cards are completely unique to one deck or the other. So one deck is running Violent Rays while the other deck is not. Same thing that one deck runs Shu King's Piccolo Underling while the other does not. This does also take into consideration alternate artworks. So even though both decks run SS4 Gogeta Triumphant together, we're comparing it and showcasing the SPR. Even though one deck may contain the non-SPR and the other deck may contain the SPR version. And that concludes everything that goes over with the deck comparison. But if you are a premium member, we do show you at the top in the badge that you can compare 4 decks all together. If you were to do that, so let's say, for instance, I wanted to compare 4 different cell decks together. If I go back to my edit selection, get rid of those, and I look up cell, and I choose 4 cells, let's add these 2 Gingertown cells. Since I'm on a premium member account, I can compare all 4 of these decks at once, and I can click compare. You'll get the same insights and comparisons as before, just with more items on the graphs and more in the differences section. But when we start getting down into the common, unique, and then partial sections, which is where it matters a little bit more. The common section is to indicate what is common between the decks. The unique section is to indicate what is unique to one deck or another. And partial is to indicate what's unique in one deck and in another deck, but not in a third or fourth deck. What cards are shared amongst 2 decks, but not in, or 2 or more decks, but not in all the decks, is what partial is meant to be. And as you know, this is our development site and does have potential changes still coming. So even though this is shown off screen a little bit, our final result will not show this off screen. It will be fixed accordingly. And that's everything that we go over for the deck comparison. Thank you.